too. Oh, thank you. Perfect. On my way here, I left about an hour and a half ago. I was downtown at the downtown campus of NICC. I walked out and I walked to my car and I couldn't get in my car. I trusted the machine. This morning when I warmed my wife's car up, I took her keys out, warmed her car up, and I said, I'll use it and I'll warm my car up. And I started the car and she said, well, you'll need your set of keys to drive the car. I said, oh, it'll be fine. And so I got in the car, drove to work. We live over in Platteville. Wanted to get here early and faced a machine that I had trusted when I shouldn't have trusted it. And that's one major takeaway of what I want to talk about in terms of artificial intelligence today. I'm very optimistic about the ways that it can unleash our economy and really make people much more productive, increase GDP, unleash entrepreneurship. Very optimistic on the technology. I downloaded ChatGPT's browser the other day. It's brand new. It's called Atlas. And it said, you've had this browser for 1 hour. You've been with ChatGPT for 1,005 days. So for 1,005 days, I've been talking to ChatGPT, probably a good hour, 2 hours per day, maybe on average, less some days, more on other days. And so I bring thousands of hours of experience working with artificial intelligence. I work as an instructional designer and adjunct faculty member at Northeast Iowa Community College. I'm on the Artificial Intelligence Alliance at NICC, which we launched as soon as we saw it write a student essay. Right? Thanksgiving of 2022, we saw what it could do. We went to the administration and showed the deans and showed the president and the vice presidents what this technology could do because we knew it would upend and change education in really significant ways. I think it'll improve education in really significant ways as well. Quick show of hands, who's used something like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or any tool like that before? Okay. Yeah, well I kind of want to show it potentially, but it's a chatbot interface. And so I'll pull up my presentation so I don't lose my, my focus here. So chatbot looks just like a text box you could talk into. I could pull it up on my phone. Actually, let me demonstrate it. I'll just do it right on my phone verbally. And it runs a large language model, which I'll explain in just a second, but I think seeing is kind of believing here potentially. ChatGPT, I'm giving a presentation to a Tea Party group in Dyersville, Iowa. Do you have any specifics I should focus on as I talk about artificial intelligence?
Absolutely. When you're presenting to a Tea Party group in a place like Dyersville, Iowa, a good angle is to connect AI to themes that resonate with their values. For instance, you might want to emphasize how AI can actually empower local businesses and individual entrepreneurship by reducing barriers to entry or making certain tasks more efficient.
ChatGPT, those are pretty good ideas, but I sort of already coded a presentation. I can't show it on screen. Do you have any sort of suggestions for what are some major topics I should talk about? Because I don't have my presentation visually.
Of course. Let's break it down into a few key themes. Since you're talking to a Tea Party group, you might want
I'll pause it there. So it is a computer program that can constantly predict the next word or token. And because of rapid advances in technology based on Google's transformer architecture, if you've ever used Google Translate back in 2016, 2017, that was the big breakthrough in that technology that allowed for hardware, software to basically be able to run itself and the algorithms to basically write code on the fly. And so it sounded like I was talking to someone right there, but I'm talking to a computer program that is predicting the next most likely word at millions of computations per second and constantly talking back with me. So you can brainstorm, you can access through what they call neural networks. Much of the corpus of the text on the internet, you can talk to it, you can seek out information. The first use case for me, I'll try to give some practical examples because it's so abstract. I've been meaning to digitize my parents' VHS tapes for a long time. They've been sitting in the basement. I thought I would do it for them sometime. But I couldn't figure out how to do it with the computer, and I got the VCR plugged in, I got some cables, and so I went to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT has pretty much every manual of every VCR ever digitized available as a part of its data set. And so not only did I could have asked it to just give me the manual, it would have spit it out because its memory is incredibly deep, but instead you can just ask it for the specifics. I'm working with this piece of software. I'm running Windows 10 on an old machine. This is the brand of the VCR from 1987 I'm running. Help me get started with that project. That's a practical example of something you could do with the technology. It's free to use these tools. There's a number of them. OpenAI runs ChatGPT, which is a private, not publicly traded company. Microsoft has spent billions of dollars backing that technology. Microsoft Copilot is something you could have on your phone or on your home computer that uses that technology. You can download the ChatGPT app for free. Google has their competitor called Gemini you can access as well. Yes, sir?
Who's financing this? There isn't anything that's free.
Good point. Your 401k is certainly profiting off all these companies that are doing very, very well currently. And so who's financing it? They're all taking a significant loss on the technology until it bears out, just like they did with social media, other companies. But investors think they can make a lot of money on it. So the companies are doing well profitably if you take a look at the stock market. Actually, some of these AI researchers are being paid sort of sports superstar salaries all of a sudden. Mark Zuckerberg of Meta or Facebook is offering people $150 million, $200 million to come work at Meta because they believe that the curve of how powerful this tech will be in a few years will be worth that level of investment for these people that know how to program these tools. So the advances have been rapid. I'm trying to think of some practical examples. There were so few hands that went up that had tried the technology. Practical examples of, yeah, sure.
I got technology on my new car that I wish somebody had stuck where the sun don't.
All right, well, me too, on the way here, absolutely. Absolutely, yep. Yes, absolutely. Let me pull up some examples. So I'll go back into history a little bit. I won't be too long with the presentation, but the term artificial intelligence coined 1950s. People realized as soon as they could use a computer, use punch cards to program a computer, that if you could write the right code, a computer could talk back to you. The idea is taken root in science fiction, Star Trek, other places that you're familiar with. People have been thinking about and sort of imagining what would be possible if we had the computer chips and the memory to kind of pull off that many computations, and we find ourselves there. Who remembers the Deep Blue, IBM's computer beating the chess champion in the 90s? Deep Blue, yeah. So that was an early iteration of this kind of technology. If it can follow a rule set, right, it's mathematical principles, it's statistics is what it's doing. And so once it beat the human, there was no looking back. Games that are much more where unpredictability is rewarded are much harder for those games or for the technology to win. And so you could play Go or other games and it won't probably beat you yet, but it's coming. The best way to think about it would be autocomplete on your phone. If you're typing an email or you're sending a text message to a loved one and it suggests the next word, if you've ever seen that happen, that is the same technology, right? When you use a system like ChatGPT on a phone or a computer, it's tapping into servers running on server farms, and it is just using a supercomputer to do it much more quickly and moving it across the internet and doing it in much more detail. And so it will output significant text, blocks of text. To prepare for this, I mean, this was coded. I don't know how to code. It coded the presentation that I can't show you. And what I did was I took some notes of some articles I'd published recently. I co-wrote a chapter with my dissertation advisor on professional development in educators as it relates to artificial intelligence, uploaded those files of approximately 150 pages, said, write me a report. It wrote me a 30-page report. I put that into a different chatbot and said, make me a presentation, and that is how I got my presentation. So it does it by that same principle of predicting that next word, predicting the next token, and then using that growing message to keep that process up of reconnecting and saying, well, what's the most likely next word in the sequence that will please the user? So it uses math, statistics, probability, and very, very deep resources to write back or speak back or create a video or create an image or create a whole new program or app that you ask it to do. It's at your fingertips here, and it happened very, very rapidly.
Is this only available on phone as well as your computer?
Yeah, any kind of anything with an internet connection. So I could even walk around at some point if you're, for those that are interested, I could kind of show it. But Google Gemini, ChatGPT, through a web browser, anything with an internet connection. Also the apps came a little bit later. But it's a very, very simple interface. It looks like just a text box. And there's bells and whistles, and you can organize chats you're having, but you can just have, it can just ingest the equivalent of thousands of pages of text at any given time and keep remembering it, keep recalling it, keep looking for insights. If you're if you want to write a research report, here's an example. I attended a conference in New Orleans. I'd never been to New Orleans. I decided to drive down. It was my tour guide the entire time. So on the way, I stopped at Civil War site Vicksburg. It gave me all this really incredible information about the Battle of Vicksburg as I was talking. And I would just ask questions. I learned a ton about the War of 1812 when I was actually in New Orleans, walking around downtown. It was just this incredible resource at my fingertips, right? But there are some significant downsides and concerns with the technology too. It doesn't think or understand like a human. It certainly sounds like it did. If it could actually do that, we would be in a very, very bizarre world, and we'd have some very serious ethical questions to consider. It does not think. It is a mathematical approximation of thinking that just puts on a really, really good show. It's not a thinking thing. And so the human must be the thinking thing. You cannot trust it, right? I can trust it if it's telling me a little bit of Civil War history because I can ask it to show its source, and I can follow that and verify whether that's a good source or not. I can constantly check it, and so could you. But people and students, and I work at NICC, the concern is that students will trust it when they shouldn't, right? And so I think it is incumbent upon educators in a very serious way, and not a lot of faculty agree with me on this, but we have to help students use and understand this technology. And educators would rather step away and pretend like it doesn't exist in a lot of contexts, but it's critically important. Just like at the dawn of the internet, when I was a student, there were a lot of faculty there who taught me what plagiarism was and how to avoid it. We've got to teach the same principles to young people because they're using and potentially misusing this technology already.
Is super AI going to get?
Yeah, you're asking about artificial general intelligence, the idea that suddenly these machines could think, right? I'm very, very skeptical of that possibility. That's a form of life, right? Like, could humans do that? I think I assume the answer is no, and I'm glad that the answer is no. I think it'll get, I think we'll still have to wrestle with some very bizarre ethical quandaries as it gets smarter, as it reaches PhD level of intelligence, right? As it powers robots that are helping us do things in our day-to-day lives in 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we will have enough to contend with without it actually being a thinking thing, I think. If that were true, we would have a very hard time, or the world would change in significant ways. It would be like aliens landing. It would be that level of extreme.
It'd be like Terminator.
Well, that's the danger, right? Right, yeah. Well, the joke is the paperclip optimizer. That was one example that some early theorists, and I follow a lot of people on social media who are very critical of artificial intelligence, and I really want to understand that perspective because I'm so optimistic about it. But the idea is, or the joke was, what if, one set of commands, your command is to make as many paper clips as possible. How does it determine what, if it finds a table, why wouldn't it just try to make that into a paper clip, right? If a machine run amok could create incredible harm without really even understanding what it's doing, if it's following like poor rules set by people. So we wouldn't even need the Terminator scenario to face some risks. I teach U.S. history and American national government, and I've been watching students play with, dabble with, and then abuse artificial intelligence and use artificial intelligence as a study tool in really, really effective ways. And so I think it's imperative that educators at every level really think through this very critically. We've given tablets and phones to young people, and this technology is fraught with concerning potential and also incredible potential to unleash human creativity, entrepreneurship. Where the internet was sort of a portal to learning, this is a crystal ball that can teach you anything at any time, and with infinite patience, on the nose, without having to go search for a source or a site. You can just constantly talk to it like it's a teacher. It's a very, very good teacher. No,
Ask
yeah.
it what the best food I should eat for high cholesterol.
My wife, it'll certainly tell you. My wife the other day said, I'd like to cook for you. I haven't been cooking for you in a while. Give me some recipes. I went straight to ChatGPT and I said, hey, here's what I like to eat. Here's what I like to avoid. It asked me a great series of questions. It put out a report. I sent it to my wife and said, here you go. That was it. Just a few minutes like that. People are using it for recipes. I walked around my yard the other day and finally cataloged all the different trees and plants. I couldn't remember we'd planted 2 apple trees, what the variety was, but I turned the camera feature on and said ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, whatever I was using, look at this leaf. I think it might be this plant, this tree, what is it? And it was able to figure it out. So camera is an input, audio is an input, it can output text, reports, research, 80-page research papers, audio files, MP3s, videos, and it writes the program on the fly. And there are very, very small teams of, Notebook LM is a tool I really, really like. It's put out by Google. 3 people created this. The infrastructure of how these tools work is now so well known that if you have a really, really creative idea, you don't need to know how to code. Your imagination is sort of the limit with what you can do with these tools. And that will change as soon as we have, if they have physical embodiment, robots, pet robots. Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
Question, what was that word, notebook? What?
Notebook LM.
LM.
Notebook language model. That's a really powerful one because, and I really like it with students because it's not going and searching the internet. It is only looking at the files you upload, and so if you're in a class, you could upload the readings, the articles you're supposed to read, and then start to chat with that knowledge base. One early case, Abraham Lincoln was invoked earlier. I actually have not done this, but theoretically you could easily put a number of speeches from Lincoln into a chatbot like that and say, okay, you are Abraham Lincoln, now let's talk, right? Share some of your wisdom, share some of your knowledge. You're not actually talking with Lincoln, it's an approximation, but it would be informed by all of those speeches, and it is the best modern equivalent that we could get today. And you could ask Abraham Lincoln what he thinks of contentious political issues potentially, and have an approximation of it. Yes, sir?
What are the 3 or 4 programs you talked about? Chatbot's one of them. It sounds like you use that quite a bit.
ChatGPT.
And what else?
Google Gemini. We have that turned on at Northeast Iowa Community College, for instance. We're a Google school, so Google Gemini is that tool. Same type of architecture, different group of programmers working on it, sort of different guardrails on the edges to keep it safe, right? If you want to ask it to make meth for you, it's going to say no, right? Those sorts of guardrails are very, very deeply built into these tools. Notebook LM was the tool I mentioned. That's been harder for me to use, but it's better because it's not, if you ask it a question that's not contained in its knowledge base, it's not going to attempt to answer. It only looks at what you've uploaded, basically. Grok from X or Elon Musk is another one that is also super powerful. Yes, sir?
2 questions. There's a lot of concern about the bias within AI, particularly against conservatives.
Sure.
It tends to be very liberal-based.
Yes.
So let me let you answer that, then I have a different question.
I share the concern. I would really like an AI without guardrails, right, so that I'm in more control. And there are some early examples of Google's tool. They asked it to produce an image of, I believe, Nazis, and it produced African-American Nazis, right? This sort of contradiction that it just can't get right because it's a non-thinking thing, and because it has these guardrails saying, make sure every image is diverse, for example, right? So I would say Elon Musk's Grok tool is the most open, but there are people that are also very critical of its guardrails in place. Obviously, no company, publicly traded or not, wants people online posting screenshots of the crazy thing they got the AI to say. So I think those guardrails are here to stay. You can download open models, and they'll still have some limits. I downloaded one on a $500 computer. I downloaded a local model, which means not connected to the internet. You can use your computer hardware and process a very, very small LLM right locally. And so you could put, theoretically, we'll talk about safety, but your medical records, that kind of stuff, there's a future in which that could be as secure as long as you could not be online and use a machine that's yours to keep those kinds of records potentially. What about the second question, sir?
So the second question is about logistics of this. AI takes up a tremendous amount of power, tremendous amount of water, and there's a lot of issues with that. They're trying to put these AI farms, or whatever you want to call it, in basically rural areas because we can't put near a city because cause cities to drown out. So they're looking at putting it out in rural areas so that they can, because it's not in my backyard.
Right,
the
NIMBY.
About that,
Yes.
it's not flyover country, but that affects us out here. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Sure, yeah, briefly. The models get better and better, and so the efficiency gains are really, really incredible. There will be the political side of all of it. I think every person who wants to use it should consider those consequences, right? Just like eating a hamburger takes a lot of water too, a lot of energy, a lot of inputs. Using AI is sort of similar in that regard. So I think the potential for the tools to drive productivity for those rural areas is so significant. It's worth experimenting with these tools, trying them out, and sort of wrestling with it for yourself. And the AI itself is a very good source of how much energy went into this search, right? You can learn a lot about that topic by talking to AI about it. Yes, sir?
From a logistics standpoint, how do you access these? Just like talking to Siri?
Yeah, very similar, and Apple is way behind the game. Apple has their thing called Apple Intelligence, which is sort of coming along. So, and again, I'll walk around, but chatgpt.com in a web browser, it should even let you might have to sign in with like an email address or something like that. You can have the app on your phone or just in the URL bar, chatgpt.com, google.gemini.com. So any web browser, anything connected to the web, just like that. If you're on a free account, you can probably use it 5-10 times, and they'll try to get you signed up. I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. I've never run into any limits. When I'm pursuing an education doctorate through Winona State, and I'll read a book, a 400 or 500 page book, and I'll take notes out loud. And that's the only time I ever kind of run into limits is I'm saying, okay, ChatGPT, this is my summary of this section. Remember this. Here's a quote I really like. And I'll just stay on the call with ChatGPT for hours at a time, and that's when I have run into limits. But at the end of that are all of my notes. I can ask it in one prompt to say, hey, organize that, or let's focus this by topic, and it can take my own words and reorganize it just like that for me. And I can do more things with it. I can create mind maps out of it. I can create a podcast out of it, right? However I want to learn, however I want to kind of keep control of my knowledge, my learning, I'm suddenly in control of. It makes learning that much easier. I'm a big believer in it. I'll try to wrap up here. Let's take a look. Let's talk a little bit more about ethics and misuse. Academic dishonesty. Students are constantly wanting to believe that their use is ethical when it's not, and I'm constantly challenging it. It's a fight worth having, though. I talked to a student over this weekend about it extensively. There's the human bias. You're talking about the bias against conservatives. That's absolutely read into how they program those chatbots, right? And so however you want to define bias, it's in the chatbots. Humans are biased. That is in the chatbots because it's trained on all of our text. Privacy. Your data can be used for training. You can turn all that off within the app if you'd like. But I certainly wouldn't put a credit card into it. I wouldn't put your name into it, social security number, nothing like that. Even if it's not going out to the internet, it's not worth the risk. There's nothing to gain from that. Authenticity. What's better than Google in a lot of ways is you can ask it for its source. It can provide a link. How do you know this? You can talk actively to it, just like you could a friend if they gave you a claim. You could ask, well, how do you know this? Well, where's your source? You can ask a chatbot what its source is and check it yourself, which is nice. I was asked to talk briefly about deepfake videos. I saw actually, political, I saw a video of Joe Biden about 2 years ago, and I thought for sure, like I would have sworn it was him, but it was a deepfake video. So I've been fooled a couple of times related to politics, and that technology is going to get significantly more dangerous right now. Through Northeast Iowa Community College uses a tool called Zoom for phones and things like that. I can talk to Zoom for 30 seconds, and it can approximate my voice very, very well. It can, and the video, if you record a short video, it can do the exact same. So then I could feed it a script, and suddenly you're seeing Jordan talking, moving his head, nodding, and it's not me. So that's here right now. There are people being fooled by videos of their grandkids calling, for bail money. They're not in jail. Someone's just pulling a con on them. So that's a significant concern with the technology. I don't see a future where we can prevent that from happening. But one significant takeaway is we simply cannot trust video, audio in the same way that we used to be able to trust it. That is the world as it is now. And we should be checking and verifying everything. We should have learned that lesson with social media a long time ago. This will really force us to learn the lesson. There's a problem of hallucination, but that is getting better. That is abating. The machines are very agreeable. They are very much trained. The transformer architecture, they're so easy to work with because they're so well trained to just do what you want. And it will lie to you. Right, I'll ask it to read a report. It'll give me some information that sounds pleasing, and I'll say, "Did you actually read the file?" No, it didn't actually do it. It will pretend like it understands when it doesn't, because it is so directly trained to just do what the user asks within those parameters. So there's a significant risk that you will go down a rabbit hole and sort of learn about a topic, but it's just trying to give you what you think it wants. That's definitely a concern. There is an example here, and I heard about this in real time. Lawyers use ChatGPT. Lawyers who are in a rush use ChatGPT for a case, I think it was in Ohio, and it provided 6 fake citations to court cases that never occurred, and the judge found out about it, and they were disbarred, right? It looked really good, and my students will sometimes send work that has really nice citations and references, and I click on that link, and it's not real. But they believed it was, and they didn't check the work.
They actually cited a judge. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
They actually cited a judge who read his own opinion being misquoted in the...
It tries to find, it'll make up the title. This has happened to me before. When I'm looking for a source, it'll give me a title by an author. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a great paper. I really want to read that paper. It doesn't exist. Yep, hallucination. The machine isn't trying to fool you. It's trying to, within its limits, predict the next token and try to give you what it's trying to give you, right? It's not thinking. How to use it responsibly, verify, verify, verify. Always treat its output as a first draft, not a final fact. You must be the human in the loop. You are the boss. It is the intern. It is an overeager intern. It is an army of interns. And I mean that quite literally, because it can do so many computations so rapidly, and we have something now with agents which can do work for you while you're not on the computer. You can say, complete this task, write this research report, write these 5 research reports, and then give me 100 examples of something for this project I'm working on. I need a research topic. Give me 100. I'll come back in an hour. And it's constantly doing this for you. It's not one intern. It's multiple interns who are overeager, want to please, and aren't thinking very straight, but working really, really hard. Protect your privacy. Don't put sensitive personal financial information into the chat at all. Think about it just like you would like social media. Don't let it become a crutch. My students are tempted to do this, where they get very reliant on it. They're forgetting what the research process actually looks like. They're getting really used to it. Imagine a world where if you're using it a lot, try not using it for a while and see what that feels like, and then go back and do the hard work and remember that it could disappear tomorrow potentially, right?
How do you check a student that's written a paper?
Know your learner. Know your learner.
Do you sit down with them and ask them a Q&A sort of thing?
I make them record videos. I teach a lot of online classes for NICC, so it's back and forth. It's videos. They record video, and then I record video feedback, and we get to know each other back and forth just like that. Drives them nuts, but I made that change 4 or 5 years ago because they were plagiarizing. Students were attempting to plagiarize before AI. Now the technology is so good. There's a lot of services that say that they can verify student writing. They can't. It's an arms race. They bring a fly swatter. The AI brings a gun to the fight, right? So you can't trust it. And so we do video. And pretty soon, that's going to be a concern for me potentially too. The college itself is actually very much talking about shifting more toward face-to-face classes, sort of indirectly as a result of this. It's what students want. Students are more successful in that environment. And with all these concerns and all the ways in which the software is sort of just adds friction to the process, bringing back face-to-face is definitely the trend. I have old blue books, if you remember them. I'm teaching a lot of classes in the spring. I'm going to bring the blue books back in. We're going to do a lot less with the computer. Yeah.
You gonna make them write in cursive?
They don't know how to write in cursive anymore. Yeah. I'll end with some optimism here. I'll take as many questions as you've got for me. It automates really tedious tasks. It's been really liberating to think about a lot of the work, projects, writing, research I'd like to do, but felt like I was short on time, or didn't have enough guidance, or couldn't sort of imagine what that project would look like. And once you talk with an endlessly optimistic, always on, always helpful, always patient brainstorm partner, how I was able to break tasks down into small pieces and accomplish much more than I otherwise would. There's an anecdote from social media where a family got an offer to, I think, finish their third-story attic, like $100,000. It was a fair offer, but they're doing it for like $30,000 or $40,000 because ChatGPT is teaching them everything they need to do to finish that attic step by step with no experience whatsoever. One of the first videos I saw was someone who had no experience putting and assembling a computer by himself using ChatGPT step by step. What pieces should I order? What does this piece mean? Where does it connect to? How does it work? It's an incredible, incredible tutor. You could really learn a lot from it. It brings democracy to this process. Anyone can really learn anything at any pace. I've never entered this. I feel like it's a little bit beneath me. But people will type, tell it to me like I'm 10 years old. Right? I'm at least a 12 or 12. I've got the equivalent intelligence of a 13-year-old at least. But dumb it down for me. That is one strength that it can do, is take a very, very complex subject, and I'm a beginner, put it in that mode for me until I learn. Pretty incredible. Scientific discovery, I've been reading a lot of books originally kind of written in the 90s, early 2000s about what could happen with medicine as a result of this technology. Nanobots, right? Rapid advances in scientific experimentation that lead to all sorts of cures for diseases we've been trying to cure for a very long time. These tools just work so fast. It's not that they're better than humans. They can just work so fast and experiment rapidly. And what it's going to unleash about our existing human potential could be pretty darn incredible. Robotics, you've probably seen videos online of robots doing backflips or lifting pallets, that sort of thing. All of that's powered by the artificial intelligence software behind those tools, right? The camera, the audio, and all the spatial data those robots are using to walk is the same technology that undergirded that ChatGPT that I showed you with my voice. I think it's a lever for human ambition. I think the future is not about what AI will do to us. It's about what we will do with this technology. Questions, questions, questions. I'd love to kind of show it off too, potentially. Yes, sir?
Can they make a bridge, design a bridge?
Design, oh, I'm absolutely sure, yes.
I mean, the diagrams and everything?
Yeah, I'll have to ask my brother-in-law works for the Wisconsin DOT. I'll ask him to be sure. But this technology's been there in small pieces along the way. I bet he uses all sorts of computer-assisted drafting technology, right? Computer numerical controls through NICC. A lot of the tech has been there, but these recent advances are just speeding it up kind of exponentially. We've been on the path for a while. We're just seeing some of those advances, and we will see them in the years ahead too. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I had a quick question. So I use ChatGPT from time to time, and it's really helpful, but also can be really creepy. I don't know. I just get weirded out by it. I've seen videos like pastors and people in the religious community stating it's evil. It's like, how would you respond to that? I hear people are doing seances and inviting demonic spirits. They talk, and it's just like weird stuff, and it really weirds me out. So what's your response to that? And how would you respond if a pastor came up and talked to you about it and their concerns were, the religious side of it?
I gave a talk in Lansing, and I was sitting next to a pastor, and in the early days of this, and we were kind of brainstorming what if we put the religious text into the AI? Like, how could it be useful as someone if you're trying to read the Bible for the first time, where in the Bible is this, and what is the meaning of this passage? It could be really, really incredible. And I know there's a lot of religious apps on phones. I think Catholics use a number of apps like that. I would say if you want to find a demon in the AI, you'll find the demon. Like, it'll do what you want it to do, and so if it's within those guardrails, it'll pretend to be the devil, and you can have that conversation, right? So that's what people are doing with it. Again, it is statistical math. My mother-in-law just had a similar concern. I just talked to her about it a couple days ago. But it's statistics, and I had to listen. But it's statistics, it's math, and it's a mirror for the user in a lot of ways. And so if you're trying to use it for creative learning processes, that's what you're going to find in it. If you want to find the devil, you'll find it in there. Yeah.
So if you wanted to use it, you have to choose between your phone and your computer.
I can go back and forth if you sign in with the same account. Yep.
So you just go to ChatGPT
Yeah, chatgpt.com.
And then they'll ask you for 20 or 30 bucks a month?
Nope, it'll be free. Yep, it'll be free. I pay 20 bucks a month for more access, earlier features, that sort of thing. Yeah, wherever you're sort of most comfortable. I have chats in there that are now 2 or 3 years old, at this point. That it's really nice to have that sort of reference. It's a series of notes. For me, it replaced. It's a commonplace book. It's a place where I can really organize and name chats. And here's all the notes and the files I uploaded about this project I was working on. And I leave that project behind for a couple months, but I come back to it, and it's all there, ready to talk to me. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How do you tell what's real and what isn't? We got that problem with the news now. Now they got AI, we got to worry about whether they're...
I try to get my plumber, every time I call my plumber, I have a Colorado phone number, and he thinks I think I'm talking to a voicemail, and he thinks he's talking to AI. We've had this back and forth a couple times. You need that human connection. Like I was talking to your students, like know your students. That's a foundational piece. We haven't done a good job of it in years, especially with the online education piece. So ask it for its sources, verify it, ask someone else if it seems reasonable. If you're asking about something and you don't have an intuitive sense for whether it's true or not, you're probably over your skis. You probably should have picked up a book first, right? But you could ask it for some book recommendations, then go to the book and learn. So it's such an open door, but you don't go too far down the door potentially. Other questions or yes, sir.
I had one. Are there any studies out on how it's diminishing human capacity for critical thinking, analytical skills?
Ooh, that's a good one. We struggle to measure critical thinking at NICC currently, and have for a long time, and keep arguing about how to define it. So us humans haven't been doing a very good job. I don't think it'd do a poor job. I think it would actually help us organize our thinking, and help us actually come up with a coherent definition that we might be able to agree on.
But isn't the mind like a muscle?
Yes, and that is a concern with the tech. If you're using it to do your thinking for you, you're weakening your muscles for sure. If you're using it to work your muscles, it's hard. Are you using that home gym or not, of the mind?
I got a question.
Yeah.
I'm a former teacher, and I kind of wondered, I agree with Mr. Carlin on that, with artificial intelligence, well, some of them can't even master the basics, such as writing their name in cursive. So if we're going to do everything by artificial intelligence, and they're doing everything with their cell phone, when the critical thinking is, what's the new creation going to be?
Yeah, if you turn to the phone instead of a human, you're probably not learning as much. But someone who's sort of introverted and kind of wants to kind of learn, it could be an open door to different disciplines, right? I'm thinking about a major at the college, but I feel like I'm behind. I don't know who to ask. I don't want to talk to my advisor. I'm going to ask what it means to be a welder. I'm going to ask AI. What does that look like? Show me a picture of what that looks like. Link me to a video of what that looks like. It could be a door to learning for those that want to learn. Again, I think the mirror example is sort of a good one. If you're there to learn, it'll help. It could be an open door to something.
Well, I've always found with the degree, it was great to have the paper degree, but the on-the-job practical training is just as important as having that piece of paper. When I taught at Hempstead and Dubuque, we had kids that wanted to weld, and a lot of them were very successful when they went to work for John Deere. But I don't think AI would have gave that to them. I think they needed some guidance to go that direction.
Yeah, yep, you're right. I think for the basic sort of, if you're writing and you're reading books, like if that's who you are, then I think the AI is probably stands a good chance of being useful to you in terms of organizing your own ideas and brainstorming and coming up with new theories or new sources or.
Well, I'd like to take a test.
Well, I've had to show faculty this. So I'll have faculty. We're working at a course. They've got an exam, and it's just sitting out there. I'm like, okay, there's no video. Okay, there's no time limit. Let me take your final exam. And so we had a sort of a come to Jesus moment with one faculty member. She was just talking about it. It really changed her. I said, let me take your final exam. I got a 93% on it in 3 minutes. This 100 question exam using artificial intelligence. And I said, this is not learning, right? So it's going to make us better teachers. Like, I'm very optimistic about that. In the ways in which faculty have been able to kind of look the other direction with that kind of thing, you can't anymore. And so I have a platform to come to these faculty and say, you need to have the video on with the learners. You've got to know your learners. You've got to have a relationship with them. It's not enough to say you know what their writing looks like, because their writing can look like anything now. They can fool you from day one and pretend to learn the whole way. And so we have to really rethink the entire apparatus of education. It sounds pretty radical, but it's a call to arms. Yeah, a couple questions.
Any thought to why they ever use the word artificial? I mean, myself growing up, artificial, not real, phony. It seems, I think it's a big outfit going on that's being sucked into some other place. It doesn't make sense to me. As if it's a gigantic complex. I see a place up in Wisconsin above Beaver Dam, above Madison, and it's a big piece of ground out in the rural. Is that what you were talking about before, where they're making these complex AI?
Oh, I know they're building a couple in Wisconsin, yep.
A plus quarter mile by a plus quarter mile.
Yep.
I'm
Data.
sure that's what it is.
Data center warehouses, yes it is, yep. Yeah, they're spending billions on it. I can't believe how rapidly they're going up. The use of artificial, I have heard talk about that, and some thinkers in the industry sort of talk about that.
Common sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like, did the world or our country go away from common sense? It's a base thought that, why are we using artificial?
Anyone's got a good answer for him? we've been using it for a real long time. It's not new. That's the thing. Yeah.
So I'm a lawyer. I've had records, hundreds of pages of medical records.
Yes. There you go.
Summarized in minutes.
Yeah.
I asked it to give me a cross-exam of a neonatologist in a complex medical malpractice case using those downloaded records. It was amazing. It wasn't perfect, but some of the content of the questions was really insightful, very useful, and that took me 20 minutes.
Right.
How did you download all of that?
You download it into the software, like you scan the records.
Scanned it in.
As an attachment, and you download it into the platform. I mean, it does have amazing.
It can output as a Word file, PDF, audio, video, whatever you want. Yeah. Maybe because real intelligence is in such short supply, we've had to fill in the gap with artificial.
If we talk about common sense, all of a sudden it appears like we're getting enamored or something.
Yeah. The appeal is you get to appeal. You see someone else's common sense as that's a part of the corpus of all this text that's on the internet from 20 years ago that you would never have encountered in your real life, right? And so it's potentially you're connecting to knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't be able to easily access, just like that, with the right question. Yeah.
Especially when you say some of this is real, some of it isn't. How do you, like you said, how do you tell the difference?
People lie, people lie too. That's the other, I sort of like to remind folks of that. Like, we can't delude ourselves into thinking that we're all very reliable. We sort of see the world accurately all the time. We always remember everything. We also hallucinate, right? And so not that the machine's more trustworthy, but it's very human in that regard. You should be skeptical. More questions, yeah?
Yeah, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but the father of AI believes it's going to be the downfall of the
There's a pretty big group. There was, I think, about 750, 800 AI researchers who recently signed a letter saying, hey, maybe slow this down. A couple years ago, there was an example of that too. And so I think we should listen to those voices as well. But there's another group with a lot of money right now saying, uncork it. Let's see how far it can get. Like, for me, when I think about our GDP and the sort of the poor state of the American economy since the Great Recession, I think this could be a catalyst. Like, this could really sort of catalyze, this could be the next industrial revolution. I think we need to remain open to both of those possibilities, right? And I think using it and playing with it a little bit yourself is probably help you figure out which camp you're in.
I guess the other thing is the guardrails that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean every country will have those guardrails.
Yeah, well, some have much more strict than ours. I think ours are probably some of the loosest. But you're right, yep, there'll be that sort of regionalism, and all the social media companies, they all do that currently, right? So yes, yeah. But we'll see more open source models out, and the local model is really interesting to just kind of run and to know it's not connected to the internet, but watch my machine answer questions on topics that I know it's not a part of its memory, it's a part of the neural network built into just 7 gigabytes of file size. much of human knowledge can be contained in a small little hard drive, in a sense, and that's the potential of the technology. Yes, sir.
I have personally stayed away from AI, but after tonight, what do you recommend for us to get our feet wet going ahead?
Yep, I would pick one tool, Google Gemini or ChatGPT or Grok, if you're on Twitter, Grok, and just start asking it some questions. What are you? How do you work? What's possible with you? Just start asking questions about it directly. How do you work? What tools do you work with? Can you output a file for me? I'm working on this project. How might you be able to help? If you're trying to brainstorm something, don't give me one example, give me 13 examples, give me 26 examples, and you'll start to kind of see how it can help multiply your own thinking and kind of help you think faster if that's a goal you have.
We got a bee man here, and he loses hives in the winter. Ask AI to help.
Right, it's problems. Yeah, I do encourage people to think about sort of sticky problems and not so much personal problems, right? People are trying to use these tools as a therapist. Probably not a good idea. But a set of challenges, right? A problem, something you're trying to work on that you just don't know exactly how many steps it would take to kind of solve that problem. It can be a really, really useful tool to help, again, break things down and make it more manageable and help you see that you do have what you need with a little bit of confidence to kind of conquer that, write that paper, write that article, write that book, whatever it is.
Does this Google Gemini interface with other Google stuff?
Yeah,
I go on Google Scholar to look up scientific articles.
There you go. So it's obviously has access to all of that. Yes, Google is. I mean, it's overlaying everything. If you do a Google search, you might probably see an AI summary. If you're seeing a block of text kind of show up with an answer, it hallucinates quite a bit. Google is going to try to put that everywhere, on your phone, in Google Docs, in your Gmail. Right? It's already been in your Gmail for a very long time. If you go to reply in Gmail, it'll give you a couple of suggestions for what you could click on to reply to that email, that predictive text.
If you're going to Google,
Yeah.
Google search,
Yep.
it won't necessarily give me the scientific article that I'll find in Google Scholar. So
Right.
Is it going into Google Scholar too?
I don't think there's an AI overlay for Google Scholar yet, but I'm guessing it's coming. Certainly Google has the AI tech built into it, and it's going to improve the way that algorithm works. And the first thing it's going to do, instead of giving you search results on the web, and it's just as significant as the dawn of the internet, it's going to try to answer your question for you, and that's Google Gemini. Yeah.
I got a really weird thing. My Android phone.
Yep.
All of a sudden, AI shows up on my phone.
Yep.
It wouldn't even let me shut my phone off. And I said, shut off. It said, no.
Well, it doesn't have control over your phone yet, but it will soon. No, I have a relatively new phone.
I'll give you a clue, Bob. Don't swear at it.
It said no. So I had to figure out a way that I could actually shut my phone off. I have to go into the...
The power button on my Android phone, it calls Gemini now. I push it, holding it, thinking it's going to turn off like my old phone used to. No, that just calls the AI assistant. So it's going to annoy you. It's going to be so in your face. You could avoid it if you really tried hard, but it's going to become harder and harder to avoid it. So at least learning, whether you're pro or anti, or you want to campaign against it, that's fine. I'd learn a little bit about it and how it could possibly assist you potentially.
Okay. Iowa lottery. What's the numbers this week?
Well, people are trying to use it for stock prediction, I'll give you a funny example. It's fun to throw some fun questions at it and just see sort of how it thinks. I thought, okay, I was pulling my 7-year-old a bowl of Lucky Charms, and I thought, what are the odds? She really wants the marshmallows. I thought, what are the odds of just getting marshmallows if I were to shake this box? And so what's the perfect pour, ChatGPT? What are the odds? Like, here's the weight of the box. Like, it just took me through all the steps. How much weight is there? How many marshmallows are there in a box? It's sort of a fun sort of thought experiment, but it shows you how it thinks and what its potential is. It tries to take all the factors in, like a mathematical formula. It tries to create a formula that could potentially answer it. It's impossible, it said. It's never going to happen. You're never going to get the perfect pour of Lucky Charms, unfortunately.
You go to the armor store and buy a bag of the marshmallows.
Do they? Okay, I didn't know they had that.
Now, I had heard that, too, question,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you that answer immediately. But if you challenge that question and say, I don't believe that, I don't think that's accurate, it causes it to dig deeper, to give you a clear picture.
It's lazy. It's so much like people. It's so much like people. It'll just. I gave it an MP4 video. I wanted it to take notes over this class presentation that someone gave, and it just watched it looked every 10 seconds at a screenshot. It was insufficient. It's always looking to take a shortcut. So yep, that's quite possible. If you're deliberate, like one funny trick is, and it's temporary, but think harder. People are saying think harder, and it's doing a better job. It's trying to reserve its compute power. The server farms are going up in Wisconsin. It's trying to reserve as much of that as possible. It's expensive to run. Yeah. So if you pay for it, then you get a little bit more access, right? More limits. The better models that are more efficient, that reason. It's pretty wild to watch it in action now. They're thinking. They're not really thinking. It shows you its process, and it puts out in plain text. So if you put a search in, you can click a button generally across all these tools now, and this is fairly recent. It says thinking. If you click it, it'll show you in plain language what its process is. So before it gives you its answer, it's saying, here's what I think the user wants. Here's what I'm looking at. So you can watch it in real time do its work, which is pretty incredible. And that will teach you a lot about the potential of these tools, whether they're useful to you or not, whether they're the devil or not. She's on her phone. She's probably on Google Gemini. Other questions? Yeah.
Just one quick.
Yeah.
You made a comment, brings democracy to the works. First 2/3 of my life, I probably thought we were in a democracy, but there's a group here and other
republic.
conservative groups that say we're in a
Sure.
republic.
Sure.
Republic is what Benjamin Franklin or somebody said we were going to get, rather than democracy being mob rule. So just pointing out, Reclaiming the Republic is another group out there that's trying to help people get to the
For
US
sure.
Constitution and things of that sort.
I think it's democratic in the sense that everyone sort of has fair access to it, right? And everyone gets to go, vote on election day. Everyone has access to these tools, whether they use them for good or not, or misuse their use or whatever. Democratic in that sense. I suppose if you pay, you're a part of the republic, maybe.
Somebody told me an easy example, without getting too detailed, is yourself and Mr. Jim are wolves, and I'm a sheep. Okay, I'm a lamb, and the question comes up: what are we going to have for supper?
We're gonna get together.
Here after supper.
We better put into ChatGPT and come up with some solutions for what to do about these two wolves really fast. I agree. Yeah. I'm certainly willing to kind of stay around. I've got the laptop. It's connected to the internet. I could show you it in action if you're curious about it. I do think just playing with the tool, if you're comfortable with it, is one great way to kind of learn about it. For better or worse, just kind of understand what it is, because it's here, it's on your phone, it's on the internet, and people are using it. No, well, Google Maps just integrated it with their Google Maps service, interestingly, and so people are accessing really incredible data through the AI now with the Maps interface. So it doesn't have that tech, the location services, but yeah.
These data centers take a lot of energy.
Yep.
And it's been proposed that we're going to open up the Wayne Arnold Energy Center.
What's that?
Most of that energy is going to go to a data center. Have you heard that?
Nope.
You've all heard that?
Yeah.
That's a downside, maybe. So it's not going to be used for electricity at our home. It's going to be used for the data center.
It will certainly be competing for power usage. I could see nuclear and other forms of dense energy making a significant comeback in terms of popularity. Thank goodness we have so much natural gas from Texas and places like that to power this.
And they take a lot of water too?
A teaspoon, I would suggest that those concerns are overblown, but it is real resources, right? But yeah.
Any other questions?
I'll hang around if anyone's interested. Thank you so much. Sure.